S.S.T College of Arts and Commerce, Ulhasnagar. Before starting the session, I would a special thanks to respected Dr. J.C. Purushwani sir, जिन्होंने इस क्रैश कोर्स सीरीज को चलाने के लिए जो सपोर्ट और इनिशिएटिव लिया। के साथ मैं एसएसटी कॉलेज के वाइस प्रिंसिपल एवं आईक्यूएससी कोऑर्डिनेटर डॉक्टर खुशबू पुरुषवानी मैम, इनका भी यहाँ पे आभार व्यक्त करना चाहता हूँ कि इन्होंने भी इस क्रैश कोर्स सीरीज को ऑर्गेनाइज करने के लिए काफी बड़ा सपोर्ट किया। ऑल्सो थैंक्स टू डॉक्टर संतोष करमानी सर, वाइस प्रिंसिपल ऑफ एसएसटी कॉलेज ऑफ आर्ट्स एंड कॉमर्स उल्लासनगर, जिन्होंने इस क्रैश कोर्स को सक्सेसफुल बनाने के लिए इनिशिएटिव दिखाया। ऑल्सो थैंक्स टू डिपार्टमेंट हेड रिस्पेक्टेड वर्षा सावलानी मैम, जिन्होंने इस क्रैश कोर्स सीरीज को सक्सेस करने में बहुत बड़ा रोल अदा किया। आज हमारे साथ मौजूद है रिस्पेक्टेड Dr.CA विश्वनाथ अय्यर सर जी। विश्वनाथ अय्यर सर आज के इस सेशन में, जो हमारी क्रैश कोर्स सीरीज थर्ड सेशन में अकाउंटिंग फाइनेंस पेपर 7 सेमेस्टर 6 से रिलेटेड हमें डिटेल इंफॉर्मेशन देने वाले हैं। आज के इस सेशन में सर अकाउंटिंग ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कंपनी, अकाउंटिंग ऑफ कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी, accounting maintained by mutual fund, how to maintain the accounting standard 13 investment accounting, as well as the introduction of IFRS के बारे में सर हमारे साथ बातें या डिस्कशन करने वाले हैं। और today's a prominent personality Dr.CA विश्वनाथन अय्यर सर का 27 years का टीचिंग एक्सपीरियंस है। सर ने डॉक्टरेट कंप्लीट की है, साथ ही साथ सर चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट है। स्टूडेंट के सबसे चाहने वाले टीचर्स में से सर है। वेदांता कॉलेज में सर असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर के तौर पे कार्यरत है। सर के बारे में बताया जाए तो सर टीचिंग के साथ कम्युनिटी और समाज हित के लिए भी बहुत प्रोग्राम में वो खुद को कार्यरत रखते हैं। इसी में वो एनएसएस के प्रोग्राम ऑफिसर भी हैं। सर खुद एनजीओ के तौर पे उनकी लाइब्रेरी चलाते हैं और कल्याण के जो रेसिडेंशियल पीपल है उनको रीडिंग हैबिट के लिए सर सपोर्ट करते हैं। ऐसी एक डैशिंग एंड प्रोमिनेंट पर्सनालिटी आज हमारे साथ है। ओवर टू यू Dr.CA विश्वनाथ अय्यर सर।
Thank you so much, sir, for these kind words. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the entire management team of S.S.T College, who has given me this opportunity to share my knowledge of this wonderful subject called as accountancy with all of you. Without wasting much of the time, let us move ahead to the subject. So as you know, TY BAF Accounting 7 consists of 5 important chapters. To begin with, let me straight away run into the first chapter, and that would be personal investment accounting. So when I talk about personal investment accounting, investment is one of the major aspects which everyone likes to invest and get return out of it. Investments can be classified on various factors. One major aspect that we tend to classify the investment is the rate of returns. All students must note that this classification of investments can be done on various bases. One of the prime thing is investments which are having the rate of returns. So if we talk about rate of returns, we can have investments fixed rate of returns as well as investments not having fixed rate of returns. Apart from that, investments can also be classified on the basis of period of holdings. Based on period of holding, investments can be classified as short-term investments or even long-term investments. If we understand short-term and long-term investments, those investments which are held for a period of more than 1 year is called as long-term investments when it comes to shares and debentures. Whereas If we talk about investments which are held for a period of less than 1 year, it is called as a short-term investment. For the purpose of valuation, what our accounting standard 13 states is those investments which are long-term in nature must be definitely valued at its historical cost. Many of the questions which you will see in your paper are related to short-term investments because we are going to record transactions which are recorded once in the case of what we call as short-term, which are continuously purchased or sold. So if we talk about investments which are short-term investments, then these are to be valued at cost price or market price, whichever is less. So these are the more important rules of AS 13, which every student must remember. When we talk about investments having fixed rate of returns, definitely we have debentures, we are having preference shares, and we have bonds. When we talk about investments not having fixed rate of returns, we have equity shares. The questions which are related to TYVAF or personal investment accounting in general, overall the syllabus covers these two types of investments and investments which are short-term in basis. So let us jump into the chapter. What exactly would be given when we talk about investments having fixed rate of returns? So fixed rate of returns, as the concept says, there is a specific rate of interest which is always given to us. So since interest is given, the rate of interest is given, there are three important values which comes into play. One, the face value. Face value of an investment generally means the value which is decided by the company as a value which is to be considered at the given value. So it is the base, calculation base. Second comes something called as the cost price, the price at which the investor purchases on any given date. As we all know, the rate of investment goes on fluctuating each day. So whether it's a debt market, whether it's a share market, her investment, the value of investment goes on changing. So depending upon the nature of investment, if it's a debt market, the rate of interest is confirmed. Now, depending upon the date of purchase of investment, it's very important that we record it in the books of investor. So on the date of purchase, which is in between the year, in between the date of interest, we have to decide whether the purchase is X interest or whether it is cum interest. Now, this is the basic aspect which is related to investment accounting. So when we talk about a debenture or a bond or a preference share, which is purchased, let us say on 1st of October with year ending being 31st March, what will happen? So investor, whomsoever he is purchasing the investments from, has to pay 6 months interest to the seller of the investment. So if the price that is decided for the exchange of investment, that is X interest price, the buyer, the investor, has to pay the amount of interest over and above the price which is decided. So when interest is paid extra, so yaad rakhna, it is called as X interest price. This is very important to note that X interest price is nothing but it is when the price of the investment does not include the interest factor, usko hum log bolte hain, a word is called as X interest price. Here the price, whatever is given, let us say that 100 rupees debentures is traded for 107, then that 107 will be considered as the cost price. Whatever is the number of units you purchase, 107 multiplied by, you say you purchase 100 units, you get the cost price of your investment. Taking it further, you have to calculate interest for 6 months. Suppose it is 10% debentures. Then you will calculate on the total face value. The most important thing that you have to remember is interest is always calculated on the face value. So if I am purchasing 100 debentures with 100 rupees, then on 10,000 rupees, you will calculate 10% interest for 6 months and it will be paid extra to the seller. This concept is what is called as X interest price. There is an exactly opposite version of that, which is called as the cum interest price. Now, what happens in a cum interest price is the price. Let us say the same example, I take it forward. The seller says, I sell to you at 107 cum interest. The word cum is including. जैसे हम लोग रोज की जिंदगी में देखते हैं सोफा कम बेड, इट्स अ सोफा व्हिच इज हैविंग अ बेड इनसाइड. तो वैसे कम इंटरेस्ट प्राइस में इंटरेस्ट इज इन द प्राइस. तो ऐसे टाइम पर हम लोग जब कॉस्ट प्राइस कैलकुलेट करते हैं, व्हेन वी कैलकुलेट द कॉस्ट ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट, वी हैव टू ऑलवेज गो टू अ वर्किंग नोट एंड कैलकुलेट इट सेपरेटली, सेइंग द गिवन प्राइस, दैट इज द कम इंटरेस्ट प्राइस माइनस इंटरेस्ट विल गिव आवर कॉस्ट प्राइस. So very simply stated, we have two formulas for us which we need to remember. If the price is X interest price, the given price will be considered as the cost price. Whereas if it is cum interest price, then cost price will be calculated by deducting interest from the cum interest price. Your entire chapter of investment accounting, as far as fixed rate of returns is involved, is based on these two values. So purchase करते वक्त आप calculate करोगे, sale होगा तो apart from this calculation, you always have to calculate something called as profit or loss on sale. Now, how do you calculate profit or loss? It's quite simple. The basic 9th standard formula of profit is selling price minus cost price. तो हमको क्या करना है? We write the sales price, we deduct the amount of cost price. Now, how to calculate cost price is an important aspect. Now, again, as per AS13, the cost of investment sold can be calculated in two ways. One is FIFO method, other is weighted average cost method. AS13 says we must follow either of the two methods, but weighted average method is given more preference than compared to first in first out method. So theoretically, you have to remember, if the question is silent, we always calculate the cost of investment based on weighted average or what is called as average cost method. करना क्या है? काम बहुत सिंपल है. Selling price, whatever is the selling price, whether it is, if it is X interest price, the given price will be our selling price. If it is cum interest price minus interest will give us our amount of selling price. From the given selling price, you deduct cost price. This cost price will be calculated on the basis of average cost. If our cost is more, definitely we end up having loss on sale. And if the selling price is more, we end up having profit on sale. As far as journal entries are concerned, there are 4 basic journal entries which are to be passed on the basis of transaction. The first one is purchase of investment. So as simple we say, we have 2 accounts affected, the investment account and the bank account. Both are real accounts, and the basic rule says debit what comes in, credit what goes out. So the basic journal entry of purchase of investment is, it is investment account debited to bank account. When we talk about sale, it is the other way around. We receive the amount of cash and naturally investment goes out. So it is bank account debited to investment account. When we talk about sale, we can either have 2 more things. One is profit on sale and other is loss on sale. Whatever profit or loss happens, it is transferred to profit and loss account at the end of the year. So while recording profit, we say investment account debited to profit and loss account. And for loss on sale, we have profit and loss account debited to investment account. So these are the 4 major entries, 1 entry for purchase and 3 entries for sale. Every year we receive interest either on yearly basis or on half yearly basis. So when we receive interest, we say bank account debited to interest account. At the end of the year, the total interest received is transferred to profit and loss account by passing interest account debited to profit and loss account. So this is the summary of the entire chapter that we have been learning, called as personal investment accounting, as far as investments having fixed rate of returns are concerned. If we further understand, there is a concept called as accrued interest. Now, when the date of accounting for the investor and the date of interest by the company are different, the concept of accrued interest arises. So what is to be done in that case? We have to see the dates. हम लोगों को accounting कौन से year का करना है? If we see that the year ending is on 31st March and our date of interest is, let us say, 30th June, in that scenario, we will find accrued interest from the date of transaction to the date of interest. So 30th June and 31st December हमको interest मिला है, हम accounting 31st March को close कर रहे, तो 3 महीने का जो interest मिलना बाकी है, that is called as accrued interest. So if I try to revise you, what are the important points as far as fixed rate of investments are concerned? So there are very few things. One, the price at the time of purchase, X interest and cum interest. X याद रखना extra, X याद रखना extra, ठीक है? Cum यानी including, so that is excluding and including. तो अगर X interest price दिया है, तो at the time of purchase, the given price is the cost price. At the time of sale, the given price is the selling price. When we talk about say X interest and cum interest, purchase and sale, when we talk about sale, then the given price will become selling price. At the time of cum interest price, selling price will be cum interest price minus the amount of interest. The second important point that you have to remember is calculating profit or loss. For that, cost can be calculated either FIFO method or average cost method. FIFO यानी first in first out, average cost यानी weighted average. तीसरी बात, investments are always valued at cost price or market price, whichever is less. And when the date of interest of the company and the date of accounting are different, then you have this concept called as accrued interest. So friends, I hope you might have understood these are some of the basic aspects which are related to investments having fixed rate of returns. When we move towards investments not having fixed rate of returns, that is primarily equity shares. हम लोग जानते हैं equity shares जब हम लोग बात करें तो we get dividend instead of interest, we get dividend, and the rate of dividend depends upon the profits earned by the company. So since the date of dividend to be declared is not fixed, neither the rate of dividend is fixed. The basic concept of X interest and cum interest price is not applicable when we talk about equity shares. So in this part of the chapter, again, transactions क्या होंगे फिर? So 4 transaction as usual जो पहले होते थे, opening balance, purchase, sale, and we will have dividend received. Definitely we will have closing balance. So if things remain so easy, तो यहाँ पर purchase यानी एक ही cost price होगा, sale यानी एक weighted average method यहाँ पर भी apply होगा because it is AS13 applicable to both. But a few more concepts get introduced as far as equity shares are concerned. And what are they? To just understand the basic things, we have bonus shares. I'm sure everybody understands what is bonus. When a company has earned high amount of profit, then they make shareholders a part of the profits by giving certain shares to them freely. Such free shares are called as dividend. They are called as bonus shares. So if you look at it, we all know that in a joint stock company, equity shareholders are the owner. Owners take away the profits. So profits का एक हिस्सा उनको हम लोग dividend के तौर पर देते हैं और दूसरा reserves and surplus में जमा करते हैं. When the balance in reserves and surplus is too high, the directors may issue out of such reserves and distribute among equity shareholders certain shares in certain proportion. These are called as bonus shares. So very simple, bonus shares अगर हम लोगों को दिया है, तो it is to be recorded on the debit side. 2 bonus shares, you have to record the face value and the cost will be always 0 because they are received free of cost. So bonus shares का accounting बहुत simple है. Bonus shares are also called as capitalization of reserves. So in simple words, from investors' point of view, these shares are received free of cost and adds to the number of shares held. It has to be calculated in a given ratio and recorded on the debit side of investment account in number of shares column and face value column. Its cost will be always 0. I hope you all have understood the logic behind bonus shares. The next most important thing that comes up as far as shares are concerned is right shares. So the word rights here means empowerment. So what happens is whenever a company goes for a fresh issue, I'm sure all of you might have heard about the word IPO. IPO is initial public offer. This is for a company which is going to offer shares for the first time. But when we come to right shares, this is not the first offer. Now this is for those companies which are already having its base. And now for the purpose of expansion, they want to issue shares and raise further capital because they are having growth and development plans. Now, definitely because we are having a base of shareholders, rather than approaching newer people, it is always wise, it is always prudent that we issue shares to our existing shareholders. So when the directors of a company make an offer to our existing shareholders, okay, that is what is called as right shares. Now remember one very important thing, the offer is free, the right shares are not free. The bonus shares were 100% freely given because they were a share of profits. Here under right shares, we may have to calculate definitely the shareholder as an option as to whether he has to purchase or whether he has to ignore the offer. Anybody and everybody can give you lots of offer in your life. अगर आप लोग जानते हो तो ऐसे कई सारे दुकानों में ऑफर लगे रहते हैं. जरूरी नहीं है कि आप सारे के सारे ऑफर लेके यूज करो. सेल 50% डिस्काउंट दुकान में देखते हैं हम लोग. Not necessary that we go and purchase the materials. So it's up to you. If you want, you get it at a discounted price. If you don't want, it's fine. Now you all might be knowing upcoming 4th May is a very historic day as far as the Indian share market is concerned. Let me share with you 4th May 2022. If anybody is aware, LIC is going to come up with an IPO. The price which they have determined for the outsiders is 292 rupees. That is proposed as on date. There may be certain changes. But when it comes to their own shareholders, rather the policy holders, they have given it at a discounted price of 60 rupees. What does that mean? They are giving a right. Now, not necessary. All the policy holders will accept the offer. जिन लोगों के पास सबसे पहला बात पैसा है, वही लोग ऑफर एक्सेप्ट करेंगे क्योंकि सस्ता मिल रहा है, फुकट नहीं मिल रहा. They are not free. I repeat again. ठीक है, the offer is free. The right shares as a cost. Many students get confused by these two terms. So when we talk about right shares, you always have to understand the investor has 3 options. 1, he can accept the offer and purchase the rights. So जैसे मैंने बताया LIC के आप पॉलिसी होल्डर हो तो आपको ईमेल आएगा कि आप चाहते हो तो कंपनी के शेयर होल्डर बन सकते हो. Now you are a policy holder, you can become a shareholder. If you want to purchase those shares, you can go ahead and purchase. If you say, no, I am not interested, LIC is overhyped, I don't want to purchase the shares at this price, you may simply reject. वो लेटर आया रहेगा, ईमेल आया रहेगा, इग्नोर करो. फिजिकल लेटर आया, फाड़ के डस्टबिन में डाल दो. कोई आपको कुछ पूछने वाला नहीं. The third very interesting aspect which right shares has is a shareholder may renounce the rights. Now, what is renouncing? Renouncing is basically transferring the rights. Let us say, for example, as I talk to you, I am a policy holder with LIC. So definitely, I will get some offer for purchase of right shares. I am not interested. But my close friend, Mr. Ravi, he wants to purchase those right shares. Now, as a businessman, I have the right to transfer my right to that person. Now, it is between me and my friend how I transfer. I may transfer for free, but if I am a businessman, I may ask some money from him because he is going to get 60 rupees less. तो चाहता हूं तो मैं उससे थोड़ा 5 रुपया 10 रुपया प्रति शेयर ले सकता हूं. So if the rights are renounced against some revenue, then the amount received will reduce our cost of investment and hence it must be credited to investment account. This is a very important rule which you always have to understand. As I talk to you, I said renouncing the rights means transferring the rights. Renouncing can be done either free of cost or the investor may charge some amount. The journal entry for amount received against renunciation will be bank account debited to investment account. I hope you all are able to follow. We first spoke about investments having fixed rate of returns. The major challenge there was what we have to consider X interest price, cum interest price. Here, the challenges are totally different. Here we have bonus shares, here we have right shares. And the last part that is coming up for this chapter is the dividend. When we talk about dividend, there are two kinds of dividend. One, the regular dividend. What is a regular dividend? So regular dividend is nothing but the amount of share in profit which the company distributes among the shareholders is called as regular dividend. Now it may be given either once at the end of the year or it may be given twice in between the year also. If dividend is given in the middle of the year, it is called as interim dividend, whereas dividend paid at the end of the year will be called as final dividend. And the total of both interim and final makes the total dividend received. Sometimes, very rarely, it may happen that, let us say for example, on 1st of July 2022, I purchased shares of XYZ Limited. Now friends, when 1st July 2022 I purchased, so in the register of members on the same date, my name will be entered as a shareholder. Let us say that the annual general meeting of that particular organization happens on 30th July. And they say that for the year 2021-22, that is the previous year, dividend must be paid at the rate of 10%. So though I was not a shareholder in the previous year, still I will get dividend for the previous year simply because on 30th July 2022, I was the shareholder and my name appears in the list of members. So this is a windfall gain for me. मेरे लिए तो ऐसा प्रॉफिट है जो जिंदगी में वापस कभी नहीं मिलेगा. It is called as a capital profit. So friends, regular dividend is a revenue profit and pre-acquisition dividend is a capital profit. Okay, so these are the things which I spoke to all of you just for the purpose of revision: interim dividend, final dividend, total dividend. Whenever we receive the dividend, the journal entry for dividend received will be bank account debited to dividend account. And at the end of the year, the total dividend received will be transferred to profit and loss account by passing the journal entry dividend account debited to profit and loss account. When it comes to pre-acquisition dividend, I have the similar example which I have shared with all of you. Since it's a capital profit, it will reduce the cost of investment and hence the journal entry for pre-acquisition dividend will be bank account debited to investment account. For our objectives point of view, you have to remember that the pre-acquisition dividend received will be credited to investment account, the cost column. the cost column. So if you look at the pro forma, what we have is quite simple. Okay, so we have the date, particulars, number of shares, face value, dividend, cost price on the debit side, and the same column repeats on the credit side. So if we talk about a practical question, we start with opening balance. We have purchase, we have sale. I have assumed that there is a loss on sale. Further, when we have bonus, it is debited. When we have purchasing right shares, it is debited. When we renounce and get certain amount, it is credited. The regular dividend is credited to dividend column. Pre-acquisition is credited to the cost column. Then we have the closing balance return. The total of dividend is transferred to profit and loss account, while the balances of shares, face value, and cost price are carried forward to the next accounting year. I hope that this is very clear with all of you and you are able to manage the things. So this is all about your investment accounting, and we have to understand that this is how the accounting prefers. Let us move ahead to our next chapter. When we move ahead to the next chapter, what we have in store for us is final accounts of a cooperative society. Now, what is final accounts of a cooperative society? We all understand, friends. Cooperative society is a special form of organization. Generally, cooperative societies are formed. If we look at the history of a cooperative society, how a cooperative society was formed, so we will understand one thing, that cooperative society, the base of formation of cooperative society was not for profit. Though there are profit-making cooperative societies, but generally cooperative societies are not for profit types. We are having so many different types of cooperative societies. Okay, to name a few, there may be a trading cooperative society like Apna Bazaar. We can have a financial cooperative society like a cooperative bank, and the most common form of cooperative society which we see is a housing cooperative society. Your third year syllabus concentrates on housing cooperative society, though we also have the other trading as well as financial cooperative society final accounts. But what is more important is housing cooperative society. When we talk about final accounts, three accounts comes to our mind instantly. They are the trading account, profit and loss account, and balance sheet. However, when we talk about cooperative societies, generally, especially in housing cooperative society, does not have any trade factor. Likewise, the profit or loss is also absent. So here we see an income and expenditure account which replaces the profit and loss account. Let me come back to the words profit, loss. Profit is nothing but the difference between cost price and selling price. Here there is nothing. The element of profit is missing. So instead of profit and loss, it is replaced by the word income and expenditure. Likewise, the balancing figure of the account is replaced by surplus and deficit, as in case of final accounts of a not-for-profit organization. When we specifically talk about a cooperative society in Maharashtra, it is governed by the rules of the Maharashtra Cooperative Society Act 1960 and the Societies Rule 1961. So they have given a specific format as to how the accounts should look like. And since our entire syllabus rotates upon that, we have to concentrate there. So when we talk about property expenses, definitely they have to be, we are having two parts, the receipts and the payments. So society, as I said, is a not-for-profit organization. They first estimate the expenses which are going to be incurred. Now, so the payments part become more important. So what are the payments to be done? That is first decided. And then based on that, there is a collection from the members, which is for society charges. You have to understand that now expenses are classified as to society charges and service charges. Now, what is the difference between the two? Society charges are compulsory charges which are required to run the society, which are mandatory. Service charges depends upon the nature of the society and are collected again depending upon the use and facilities provided by the society. For example, if we talk about, let us say, the lift charges or the security charges, then these comes under the service charge, whereas the basic taxes to be paid by the society like municipal taxes or the water charges, or let us say for example non-occupancy charges, these becomes a major part of society charges. So we have in front of your screen the various examples of expenses. You have to understand which comes under society and which comes under the service. So if you look at it, we are having the municipal taxes, water charges, we have electricity charges, we have repairs and maintenance, contribution to sinking fund, we have major repairs, lift maintenance, garden maintenance, parking charges, interest on default, that is those members who pay their payments late, their monthly amounts are not paid on time, they have to pay interest on the default charges. We are having non-occupancy charges. What is a non-occupancy charge? You might very well know that in today's world, आज की दुनिया में लोग सेकेंड हाउस रखते हैं. What is a second house? एक घर जहां वो रहते हैं और दूसरा घर जो वो भाड़े पे देते हैं. तो अगर उन्होंने एक खादा कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी में घर लिया, but they are not occupying, they are giving it on rent, then they have to pay a special charge which is called as non-occupancy charge, lease rent, insurance and non-agricultural tax. Likewise, and इस सब का collection member से लिया जाता है. So you will see that the payments and the receipts both are almost on similar lines. Depending upon the question, you have to be able to allocate which is society's charges and which comes under service charge. Now, what is service charge? Then we have salaries. There is a society office. Society office runs very similar to a regular office. The only missing part, as I say, is the profit element. So salaries हो गया, printing and stationery, meeting expense, we have audit fees, telephone, conveyance, postage, miscellaneous, legal professional. If there is a land matter which is going on, you have an advocate, you have a chartered accountant which you have appointed for the purpose of audit, then you will have to pay these fees, subscription, electricity charges, accounting charges, housekeeping. So these are quite normal things. These are called as service charges. The only word you have to keep in mind is service. These are all service charges. The earlier was society charge. इसके अलावा other expenses की अगर हम लोग बात करें, if you look at other expenses, we can see depreciation and provision for tax. What we can see? Depreciation and provision for tax. If there is a credit balance, we get surplus, and if there is a debit balance, if our expenses are more, we get deficit. When we come to the income part, as I explained to you earlier, the incomes again as society contribution from members, society charge, collection from members, service charge. We have interest and dividend. There is a concept, majority of the society people, because the treasurer, the chairman, the secretary change every year. So whatever surplus cash is collected, there is a general tendency to save the amount in certain bank. So we get interest on the fixed deposit kept, and there is interest on savings bank. Whatever is received, it is recorded on the credit side. Now, as you see, कुछ society में cell towers लगे रहते हैं, mobile towers लगे रहते हैं, ठीक है, sale of scrap होता है, ठीक है, membership transfer होता है, flat transfer होते हैं वक्त, ये सारे के सारे जो incomes है, it comes under other incomes. So there are 4 headings on the debit side, that is the payment side, expenses part, and 4 headings on the income part, which you have to remember. So debit में आता है society charge, service charge, then we have other expenses, balancing figure surplus. Credit में income की बात करेंगे तो collection from members for society charge, collection for members for service charge, interest and dividend, and we have other incomes. If we proceed further to look at the balance sheet, you will find majority of the content is the same. Majority of the content is what you have already learned. But yeah, there will be certain formats which you have to remember, headings which you have to remember. तो क्या आता है? If you look at the balance sheet format on the liability side, as we all know, we have share capital. What is share capital? Society is nothing but it is a collection of members where the amount has been put in. You all, when you are a part of the society, you are a shareholder of the society. So आपने society को जो पैसा दिया, that forms share capital. Then we have reserve fund and other fund. Basically, it is all our reserves and surplus. So कुछ reserves ऐसे हैं जो compulsory nature के होते हैं. Like we have the statutory reserve fund. Okay. So whatever statutory reserve fund we have, the opening balance would be given. We have to add entrance fees, transfer fees, premium on transfers, and interest on fixed deposit. So whatever we receive, we add to that. Sinking fund is another compulsory statutory reserve which every society maintains. So whatever addition you do for the current year, you add that. One major fund that society always maintains is the repairs fund. So repairs fund may, depending upon the age of the building, age of the society, we have to keep maintaining, adding the amounts. And whenever there is a major repair, painting or other work, you can withdraw the amount from sinking fund or repairs fund as you have. When we look at other funds which are maintained, that if whatever is the purpose is there, they have to specify. Whether we continue with the societies, we have staff provident fund. Let me explain this small concept. The basic logic for forming a cooperative society, especially in the trading part, was because, like we know, the transition of business from a sole trader to a partnership format to a joint stock company. At the joint stock company, we found that there was a huge capital base, but at the same time, there was a lot of activity which were done by board of directors against the wishes of the owners. So these owners came together and formed a cooperative society. So it is for the well-being of the employees, well-being of the people associated, that a cooperative society was formed. So it was an action to counter effect the atrocities which were put upon the lower class people by the upper class or the people sitting on the chair. So here we have staff provident fund because cooperative society wants that each and every employee should be happy with the overall position. Then if there is any secured loan taken by the society, it will be on the liability side. We have unsecured loan, and definitely the various deposits which we have accepted from the public. Here it can be, it is accepted, it is a liability. It is not the FD which we have kept in the bank. It is a FD which we have accepted as a society. And finally, we have current liabilities and provisions which comes on the liabilities side as one of the major headings. Apart from that, if a cooperative society has declared dividend and it has not been claimed by any of its members, it will be shown on the liabilities side, accrued interest, other liabilities. And finally, if we have a surplus, that will be shown on the liability side as income and expenditure account. So as per the Societies Registration Act, we are having 11 headings for every society, housing society. This is especially which we have to maintain. On the asset side, we found that, or rather find that, the order of liquidity is followed. Hence, cash and bank balance becomes the first heading on the asset side. If you look at a joint stock company or any other organization, they follow something called as the order of permanency, wherein the most permanent items are written on the top and the liquid items come on the lower part. In a society, we follow the order of liquidity. So यहाँ पर क्या order follow होता है? So we have cash and bank balance. We have investments. Likewise, provident fund. याद रखना, the difference between reserve and fund is the amount of fund always has an investment. So whatever is the amount of fund which has been collected from the members will be invested outside the business, called as provident fund investment. Likewise, if we are given some advances to our employees in whatever form, that will come under the heading of loans and advances. Now, this is a very beautiful item which I always stop and explain as far as the accounting of a housing society is concerned. Many of you may be confused कि यहाँ पर कस्टमर कौन है, डेटर कौन है. तो यहाँ पर डेटर कोई बाहर वाला नहीं है, ये वो सारे मेंबर्स हैं जो अभी अपने टाइम पर पेमेंट नहीं करते. So dues from members becomes one of the amount which is receivable by the society. Again, if a housing society does certain kind of sale, then if there is a credit sale, we may have sundry debtors. And if any refund is due, then it may be considered. Likewise, current assets, we may have whatever spare parts, tools, loose tools, stock, anything available in the society premises. Then comes the most important part, which we all know. But honestly, if we talk about society point of view, उनके खुद के कोई फिक्स्ड एसेट नहीं होते क्योंकि उनका कोई बिजनेस इंटेंशन नहीं होता, इसीलिए बहुत पीछे आता है. एंड देन वी हैव miscellaneous expenses and losses. I hope everyone understands that in financial accounting, goodwill is one of the major losses apart from the preliminary expenses, share issue expenses, or deferred revenue expenditure. Concluding with other items, whatever remains, that like there may be electric deposit which we may have given as a society, there may be a water deposit, this comes under other items. And if your income and expenditure has a deficit, it will be shown on the asset side along with current losses. So friends, this is what is a balance sheet of society looks like. You have to know which items comes under which heading for your consideration, for your better understanding. So we have covered out of the 5 topics, 2 topics, and I just would like to tell you that this is very important. As far as format topics are concerned, the most important thing that one has to remember is the formats are as per certain acts. So you definitely cannot bring in or you cannot change what has been told to you. You have to remember the formats as it is given. The next topic, which I would like to continue with all of you, is about a joint final accounts of electricity company. Just give me 1 second. As we talk about electricity company accounts, now this is something very important. Electricity company accounts is governed by the Electricity Board Act. So what is Electricity Board Act? If we try to understand it very, very simply, अगर हम लोग समझने की कोशिश करें तो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बोर्ड एक्ट के बारे में हम लोग अगर बात करते हैं, सो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी के बारे में हम लोगों को बहुत सारी सिंपल बातें याद रखनी है. फॉर्मेट टॉपिक है वो भी, एंड यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड. व्हाट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड इज सिंपल. फॉर्मेट उसका भी दिया हुआ है, हम लोगों को वो कंटिन्यू करना है. इफ यू लुक एट द फॉर्मेट्स दैट वी हैव, so here we are having a pro forma of balance sheet as far as electricity company account is concerned. And when we talk about pro forma of an electricity company, let us try to understand an electricity company, the nature of business of electricity company. What does an electricity company do? An electricity company sells electricity. Where does it manufacture? The production place is the factory. Now it's raw material. It's totally different. That may be the natural things like coal, or depending upon, or if it's having wind energy, the wind. So in components अगर हम लोग देखेंगे, it's not the regular raw material and regular labor. So here we are having a different kind of things. So if you look at balance sheet, overall performance would be similar to what we have learned in a final accounts of joint stock company. And what was that format? It's available in front of you. So on the liability side, we have three common headings: the shareholders funds, the non-current liabilities, and the current liabilities. Very, very simple. Shareholders funds यानी क्या? It consists of share capital and reserves and surplus. I hope everyone understand. Share capital में क्या आएगा? Equity share capital आएगा और उसके साथ preference share capital आएगा. Reserves and surplus may have in itself a huge list of items, right from general reserve to various kinds of funds, reserve fund, the various statutory funds which are necessary by the government. When we talk about non-current liabilities, again, like a corporate, we may have long-term borrowings or other non-current liabilities. Finally, when it comes to current liabilities, we have trade payable and other current liabilities. Trade payable because there may be things which are purchased on credit basis. When we talk about the asset side, following the same pattern of corporate, we have the non-current assets. Now, what will be the fixed assets in case of an electricity company? So the huge amount would be invested as far as the plant and machinery is concerned. The power making machineries are concerned. The huge towers, the land and building, these all comes under tangible assets. The intangible assets, definitely there may be intangible assets, like they may have certain formula, the patents, the things that they have invested in. Apart from that, the non-current investments, which is primarily nothing but our long-term investments. When we talk about current assets, we are having specific items of inventories, trade receivable, and cash equivalent. So if you look at electricity company, there is nothing new as far as the format is concerned. However, to share with you, when you look at it in detail, you will find the items that we use as far as final accounts are concerned are quite different. Say, for example, if we talk about tangible assets, then what tangible assets? So in tangible assets, you may have items which are like steam power plant, I told you, transformers, there may be mains, there may be meters, there may be so many items like public lamps, which are generally given under tangible assets. Likewise, there may be electrical equipment, there may be office equipment, there may be office furniture, which comes under the category of tangible assets. So out and out, if you look at it, you will be given a simple trial balance in electricity company. All you have to understand is the nature of the item and then transfer it. So compared to a society, that is housing society, electricity company format is much easier. However, the examples that you need to consider under an electricity company is much more bigger and unique as far as the examples are concerned. So my simple suggestion to all the students is, for electricity company accounts, what you need to do is you need to go through items one after the another, refer to examples as much as possible, and come to a conclusion as to what is required for you. So this is all about electricity company as far as TY-BAF is concerned. When we move ahead to our fourth topic of mutual funds. So this is one of the most interesting topic, which can definitely take more than an hour if I go into depth of mutual funds. But I would be again contenting myself to few basic items which are related to your syllabus. So what a TY syllabus of mutual fund is related to? I'm sure everyone here knows about mutual funds. Mutual funds is nothing but one of the unique investment opportunities which is applicable for all the people across India, especially people who do not have knowledge of share market, or those who are worried about the volatility that exists in the market, whether they will be able to earn or whether they will lose their money in the share market. They prefer to have a safer method of investment, and that safer method is nothing but it is mutual fund. So what mutual fund is all about? We know there is a asset management company. Now, who is an asset management company? Asset management company is an aggregator. What it does is it collects money from people like you and me who are want to invest in the share market. With the amount available, with the corpus available with us, they have good funds in their hand. Depending upon the nature of investment, depending upon the portfolio that they have already worked upon, there is a in charge person who takes a call, who is called as the manager. He decides which are the companies, which are the areas which are going to have a brighter future. Definitely we saw during the COVID period, we came to know that the pharma industry was running at its best, whereas there were many other industries which had a bad phase. Now, after that, one more very important aspect which came up was that our information technology organization had a major role to play as far as the growth of business was concerned. So they try to find out those companies, predict those companies which are going to earn good amount of profits. Based on that, they invest the amount. Definitely, whenever there is a deep study, we try to understand, we try to know that the returns is always better. We go, we take a chance, and there is a possibility that we may lose our money. So these asset fund manager, they take proper care that the money is invested in those portfolios where the returns definitely come out positive. When we get returns, we are able to divide the amount, whatever we have got, amongst all the beneficiaries, amongst the people who have invested the amount. And finally, the shareholder, whoever is a part of the mutual fund owner, he gets an amount which is higher than that. This is called as NAV. Our syllabus primarily concentrates on calculation of closing NAV of mutual funds. NAV stands for net asset value. What is the formula for calculating? The formula is very, very simple. Once we know that what is the total amount available, what is the value available, it is the total portfolio value minus management expenses, because there is a manager who is going to manage our funds. We are all going to enjoy sitting at our homes. So the total whatever portfolio value comes at the end of the year, and you deduct the amount of management expenses or the liabilities which are available with the company divided by total number of units outstanding. So NAV is very simple. It is total assets minus liabilities minus the management expenses divided by outstanding units. That will give you your net asset value. This only calculation is important as far as your mutual funds are concerned. And the last but not the least, when we talk about IFRS and Indian accounting standards, my only suggestion is, because you are having only introductory part, you have to just go through the pages. What is the framework of IFRS? So Indian accounting standards, generally Indian accounting standards are formed by Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So IFRS is nothing but it is International Financial Reporting Standards. So our accounting standards are more or less taken from the international reporting standards. But definitely the international standards are much bigger and it has a larger framework. Ours is an inspired version. Definitely efforts are going to the maximum level that both should be at par, but depending the strength and weakness of the country, certain changes are done at our level. But IFRS and the overall functioning, that is to define and make the reporting of financial standards, financial statements more true and fair, that is having a true and fair view, maximum efforts are taken so that our standards are mandatory and followed by majority of the companies. So if we talk about IFRS 1, it talks about the first time adoption of IFRS. So basic IFRS things I'm just trying to revise, which your syllabus talks about. So we have IFRS 1. IFRS 1 talks about the first time adoption of international financial standards. Now that was issued in the year 2008. Thereafter, we are having almost 15 IFRS which have been issued up till 2014. More developments are definitely happening, but this is the core thing. IFRS 2 relates to share-based payments, which was issued again in way back in 2004. Then business combinations, which we otherwise talk about, mergers, acquisition, that has been given in 2008. The insurance contracts, that is IFRS 4, 5 talks about non-current assets, which is held for sale and discontinued operations. The sixth one is for exploration for and evaluation of mineral assets, that is natural resources के बारे में related जो है, that is IFRS 6. 7 talks about the disclosure in financial instruments. 8 talks about operating segment. 9 financial instruments in itself. 10 talks about consolidated financial statements. 11 talks about joint arrangement. 12 is disclosure of interest in other entities. 13 talks about fair value management. 14 talks about regulatory deferral accounts. And 15 talks about revenue from contract with customers. This is, as I talk to you, a very simple framework which has been mentioned in your syllabus. IFRS in itself has a great depth. To talk about IFRS, to make you understand the basics of IFRS, it may take 1 hour lecture separately. But since our syllabus mentions it, as you are graduating, it should not happen that you are not aware of something called as IFRS being existent. So the idea, the purpose was to just introduce you to this huge world of IFRS. So that is all about your TY BAF Accounting 7, FA 7, the name of the subject. And these are the 5 topics which has been given in your syllabus and you need to know all about. I just would like to thank the entire management, especially Purswani sir, who has given me this opportunity to share my views with all of you. Also, the management committee, Anil sir, our ma'am, who gave this opportunity. I'm indeed thankful, and I hope that I could share or deliver what was expected from you. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Within a stipulated time, sir, clear each and every aspect involved in financial accounting paper 7. Sir, some questions are there. So question answer session.
Yeah.
Questions regard the renunciation of shares, whatever profit, whether it is recorded in investment accounting or not.
Yeah, definitely. If there is a renunciation of right shares that happens and some amount is received by the investor, then it is to be considered as a capital profit and it reduces the cost of investment. Hence, it must be credited to the investment account directly. So it is recorded in investment account in cost column.
Okay, as per the nominal account, it should be treated as a profit. Thank you, sir. Second question, is necessary to calculate profit or loss at the stage of sale of security under accounting standard 30?
Yes, sir. Definitely, every investor who is investing his money into the share market or debenture market, whatever it happens, it's absolutely necessary to know whether he is earning. The purpose, what we are deciding is short-term investments. Our purpose is short-term investment. So he would always like to know whether he has gained or whether he is into red. So to calculate profit or loss is one of the fundamental aspects as per accounting standard 30.
Next one, the questions related, any remuneration to the secretary or chairman at which head recorded cooperative final account?
Okay, so generally the secretary and chairman, they are not given salaries. because it's a not-for-profit organization. But still, if there has been a bylaw which allows the payment to secretary and chairman, it would be considered as a service charge and recorded in service charge of the society.
Is any percentage?
No, as per the act, it is not allowed because cooperative housing, cooperative societies are basically not for profit and there is no extra amount which is to be given. It is only from within the bylaws. A society may appoint secretary and allow a certain amount of salary to its secretary and the chairman. Primarily, it is not allowed.
Okay, so last question. The electricity final account, the central department and state department, there is a separation between the central and state department. So is a same financial statement for the both central as well as state department, which are provided or given by the accounting standard for electricity company?
Yes, sir. Since the electricity company is governed by Electricity Act separately, which is passed in the parliament, irrespective whether it is central or state, the format of electricity company accounts remain the same.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Clear the each and every queries of student, and sir, clear the conceptual knowledge as well as the practical aspect which given or governed by accounting standard related with the cooperative society final account, related with the electricity company final accounts, as well as sir also introduce how to maintain the accounting system of mutual funds. Many detailed informations or format oriented information regarding to the investment accountancy, and last introduction of IFRS with different 15 accounting standards. थैंक यू, थैंक्स अ लॉट सर, आप यहाँ पे आए और आपने ये जो बहुमूल समय देके हमारे बच्चों को जो अभी सेमेस्टर 6 को अपीयर करने जा रहे हैं, आपका ये सेशन उनके लिए डेफिनेटली वैल्यूएबल रहेगा। मैं एसएसटी कॉलेज ऑफ आर्ट्स एंड कॉमर्स उल्लासनगर के तरफ से आपका तहे दिल से यहाँ पे आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। इस प्रोग्राम को सक्सेसफुल बनाने के लिए हमारे महाविद्यालय के जो फाउंडर प्रिंसिपल है डॉक्टर जैसे पुरुषवानी सर का भी मैं यहाँ पे आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। साथ ही साथ वाइस प्रिंसिपल, IQAC कोऑर्डिनेटर रिस्पेक्टेड डॉक्टर खुशबू पुरुषवानी मैम, इनका भी मैं यहाँ पे तहे दिल से आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। और हमारे महाविद्यालय के जो अकाउंटिंग एंड फाइनेंस डिपार्टमेंट के HOD रिस्पेक्टेड वर्षा सावलानी मैम, इनका भी मैं यहाँ पे तहे दिल से आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। और आप सर यहाँ पे आए और हमारे बच्चों को ये वैल्यूएबल गाइडेंस दिया, ये डेफिनेटली गाइडेंस उनके इस अपकमिंग एग्जाम में हेल्पफुल रहेगा। थैंक यू, थैंक्स।